Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Gig Harbor City Council meeting of January 10th, 2022. The time is 5:30 p.m. and I will do a roll call. Councilmember Wook.
Here.
Councilmember Likens.
Here.
Councilmember Rodenberg.
Here.
Councilmember Storsett.
Here.
Councilmember Henderson.
Here.
Councilmember Denson.
Here.
And I think, did I get it ready?
Yep,
Okay.
got it. Got them
And
all.
then Josh, what's that, Tony? I'm sorry.
I think you got them all.
Okay. And then Josh, would you like to introduce staff that are present, please?
Yes, staff. Let's see. We have City Administrator Tony Paisecki,
Here.
City Attorney Daniel Kenny,
Here.
Public Works Director Jeff Langhill,
Here.
Community Development Director Katrina Knudsen,
Here.
Parks Manager Matthew Keogh,
Here.
Tourism and Communications Director Laura Pettit,
Here.
and I think that's everyone except for me. I'm City Clerk Josh Stecker.
And Camille Borders, our HR Director.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, I'd like it if you would all join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening? Seeing none, okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
A second.
Seconded by Rodenberg. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Consent agenda passes 6-0. We have a presentation this evening from our swim safe team. I would like to introduce Sarah Stansikis and Heather Maher. And you guys can take it away.
Great, thank you. Good evening. Heather and I want to thank you for the opportunity to share our campaign with you and to explain our beginning, our process, and why the Swim Safe Gig Harbor campaign means so much to us and to the community of Gig Harbor. We feel so blessed to live in a community that believes in the notion that we can do better for our children by recognizing where our weaknesses lie and wanting to move forward with a solution. We are grateful to City Council for allowing us this time to share with you our vision for a community public aquatic center where all are welcome regardless of age and financial background. Kids are not waterproof. We are not born naturally adapted to the water, and yet our maritime city that is surrounded by the water has no public access to a pool.
Yes, hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you again so much for this time to share with you all. It's really nice to actually see your faces and make your acquaintances virtually instead of seeing just a picture on a poster somewhere in town. So thank you for this time to share with you. I don't know if you've heard about the Swim Safe Gig Harbor campaign, maybe floating around a little bit. So it means a lot to us to be able to present to you tonight. And I want to give you a little bit of background how all this craziness started. Just a nutshell version. I love the water. I love swimming. You know, swimming is a joy and an essential life skill. I grew up doing swim team and varsity water polo. And my kids, my son is 8. He's in 2nd grade. My daughter's in pre-K. She's 5. And I've always wanted my children to have the same joy and appreciation of water. So about 7 years ago, when my son was about a year old, we started doing swim lessons at the Y. And they were great. They were awesome swim lessons, but they were incredibly hard to get into. And I remember waiting until the clock turned just so I could register for a swim class. And that was, 6.5 years ago, before all of the whole town erupted behind the Y, before all that construction. So now it's even harder to get into. And Sarah and I have spoken with Dr. Brenda Wilkes, who is the Tom Taylor, the senior aquatics director there. And you can read her support letter on our website of acknowledging, yes, they are beyond capacity. And she especially calls out the need for aquatic therapy for people with disabilities and special healing requirements. So the Y is completely maxed out. They provide excellent services, but they're at capacity. 2 years after my son and I did those lessons was when Beard Swim Company opened up their professional swim school. And again, they also provide fabulous services, professional lessons, but their wait list is unbelievably long. I asked them this past summer what their wait list was like, and they told me they had roughly 1,000 kids on their wait list to have a safe place to learn how to swim. And my gut reaction was, well, this is not okay. Like, how can our city be surrounded by water and 1,000 kids can't find a place where they can safely learn how to swim? That's not okay. So I made a post on Facebook. It was not an angry post, but just a post of like, we need to do something about this. And it took off. Parent after parent commented on it, so much to the point that Sarah and I started the Swim Safe Gig Harbor campaign to advocate for a public aquatic facility for our maritime city.
So what exactly is our community saying that it needs? So we have actually been researching aquatic facilities, and in order to have a sustainable aquatics facility, you need to have 4 pillars or 4 things. So the first one being swim lessons. The second one includes sport. The third, fitness. And the fourth would be aquatic therapy. So everyone that we've spoken to has said, yes, these are the things that we need. We've been rallying, as Heather said, support from the community because we believe 100% that this is a community effort. Nothing can be accomplished, just her and I. It takes a group effort. So along with the over 1,000 signatures that we've gathered on a petition, we have local businesses and organizations that have sent verbal letters of support to our campaign. The Peninsula School District 401 is one of them. Harbor Pediatrics Multi-Care is another. Pediatrics Northwest, the Kiwanis Club of Gig Harbor Firefighters Local Chapter 3390. Olympian Amanda Beard and her Beard Swim Company has said, yes, we are at capacity and growing. As Heather mentioned, Dr. Brenda Wilkes, who is the Senior Aquatics Director for the Tom Taylor YMCA, and so many others. We have them all listed on our website if you feel you want to check it out. Every single community organization and person, we put their letter of support on our website. So swim lessons, number one, right? That's kind of where we kicked off our campaign at, just because that's where Heather and I are in our life right now with children. So learning how to swim is an essential life skill. The reality of drownings and water safety is always uncomfortable, but we need to be honest with ourselves that it does exist. Drowning is the leading cause of injury-related death in the United States in children ages 1 through 4 years old, and the third leading cause of unintentional injury-related deaths in children ages 5 to 19 years old. Those are big, scary statistics, and I think that our community every year is affected by this. Unfortunately, this past summer, we had 2 drownings locally, and that's terrifying. We also have spoken with Nicole Hughes, who is one of the leading advocates in the country for water safety and drowning prevention. Her 3-year-old son unfortunately drowned in 2018, and she has become the biggest voice for the American Academy of Pediatrics to prioritize water safety. We interviewed her, and you can catch that on our website as well if you want to. The second pillar was the sports. This includes water polo, swim teams. We have a local swim club in Gig Harbor, the Narrow Swim Club. It's an association that was founded in 2014, and they don't have their own pool. Right now, they utilize the high school pools. And due to high school sports having kind of first come first say in their time for practice, the Narrow Swim Club is allowed to use their pool after hours. So this doesn't always work out for student athletes and younger kids. So a partnership with narrow swim club in the future would be steady revenue for an aquatic center and upkeep on an aquatic center. Fitness is, not limited to lap swim, senior swim, fun things like stand-up paddleboard yoga, anything to get our bodies moving. And as we found with COVID, swimming in our chlorinated, bleached out swimming pools has been one of the things that has been deemed safe for exercise. Aquatic therapy allows for supportive buoyancy while providing the body with gentle resistance in the water for strength training. Aquatic therapy has been used in treating chronic back pain, traumatic brain injury, car accidents, sports injuries. We've also have a verbal letter of support from Olympic Pro Spine and Sports, who have said, yes, they are always looking for pools to do aquatic therapy. And so, Heather?
Yep. Okay. My turn again. All right. So, we've been researching other aquatic centers in Western Washington. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Other cities and communities have done this. So how do we go about doing this? How do we do this wisely? How do we do this sustainably? Really researching how have other communities done this? How did they make their facilities a reality? From our research, we have learned a lot about public-private partnerships that communities have established to build their aquatic centers. For example, a pool up in Lopez Island has obtained $1.2 million in state funds to help build their pool. So Sarah and I have already had meetings with Michelle Caldier and Jesse Young and Emily Randall to introduce our campaign to them and start the process of hopefully acquiring state funds down the road. So we've had those conversations with them just to begin those conversations. And we've also teamed up with a similar group to us called Splash Forward from Bellevue. And they are pretty much doing exactly what we are doing, but they're about 4 years ahead of us. They have rallied support from the cities of Bellevue, Redmond, and Kirtland to combine their efforts to build their aquatic center, along with private company donations like Amazon and Microsoft. We are very thankful to be learning about how they have been approaching all of those conversations. We see a lot of potential with building partnerships with different groups around our own area to really see a Gig Harbor Aquatic Center through to completion. I don't know if you're aware, we've been presenting to PennMet Parks all summer since June. All of this just started in June. It's been so exciting. It's taken off really fast, kind of overwhelming, but really mostly exciting. They just passed a $90,000 feasibility study in November. So this year in 2022, they're going to be exploring their properties and doing a full study about what it would actually look like to do this kind of facility on one of their properties. They're first going to look at the old Peninsula Gardens property, which, if you're not familiar, it's on the corner of Walachet and 56th. PennMet already owns it. It's 10 acres of land, which is plenty of property space that we've learned from our research. It could hold a facility like that. It's already developed, so you don't have to worry about clearing the land. It's already developed. And it's right on the corner right there, which is centrally located to our town. So they're going to check that out first, but they also told us they're going to look at some of their other properties just to wisely see what else, maybe there's a better property that PennMet has, because I didn't know PennMet has a lot of properties. So that's kind of the update of where we are at. In conclusion, I think Sarah and I have both been so encouraged by the incredibly supportive responses from so many people in our community. Again, you can look at our website of how many people have been writing in, how many people signed our petition to say, yes, this is a desperate safety need for our town. And Sarah said, it's truly a community campaign for our whole community. Sarah and I are kind of backing this, but we don't want it to be like just the Sarah and Heather show. We want everyone to be able to have a voice in this. So we're excited and hopeful and proud of our town, dreaming together of having a place like this. And we would ask that you would keep our campaign in mind as we move forward in hopefully building a partnership with all members of our community. So with that, we will conclude our time and we are open for any of your questions.
Thank you so much. And can you remind us of your website address?
Yeah, it's is there like a chat I could send it to you? It's like a
Not really. You can email it to mayor and council at gigharborlaw.gov if you'd like.
Yeah, I'll do that. I mean, I can spell it out. It's a tiny URL. I don't know if you guys know tiny URLs.
Mhm.
Tiny, like small, the word tiny, url.com/swim safe Gig Harbor website. And I'll email it to you as well. I know that's kind of confusing. So yes, but please check out our website. It has all of our speeches. It has the local news articles that we've been featured in. It has all the letters of support. It has a small Q&A. So we'll send you the website.
Great. Councilmember Dunson.
Yes, thank you, Heather and Sarah. I just wanted to commend you on your campaign. It is amazing what you've done, and you're really doing all the right things and meeting with all the right people, as well as just talking to, all of our citizenry. So good job. I just had a quick question because I've seen these in other parts of the country, and where I've seen them, like in the Midwest, for example, they're outdoors. There's a lot going on. They're amazing, but they don't have, well, they've got a different weather system than we do. So I'm just wondering if you have a vision of what this would look like, if it's an inside facility, if it's outside, a little bit of both. Just curious.
Yeah, so I think that we definitely right now are looking at indoor just based on our weather systems. And because the biggest thing with swim lessons for kids, especially, is the consistency, right? So instead of having an outdoor pool that we can utilize for maybe 2 to 3 months a year, and then they stop swimming and then we're back to square one. So an indoor facility so that we can consistently have those swim lessons. Also, in the grand scheme of things, because we wanted to accommodate the swim teams, the lap swim, 2 pools side by side so that we could have those 25-yard lane pools for the competition side of things. And then, that other pool that's maybe a little bit warmer for the swim lessons, for the family swim. Another reason why we're really attracted to that Peninsula Garden site is because it is so big. So we build, say, this grand facility, but we would still have room for expansion in the future because we don't want to limit ourselves. And we know that, 20 years down the road, things are ever changing. So we want to be open to those ideas and not limit ourselves.
I think if I can jump into a great example of, am I still muted? Nope, not muted. Okay. A great example of what the dream would be, if you Google the Snohomish Aquatic Center. We've spoken with them. That would be a great sample of what kind of dream would be. It's an indoor facility, 2 pools. One is like the sports lap, that kind of pool. There is also the separate pool is a recreational warmer pool for aquatic therapy. Google that. That'd give you a great idea of what we think would that would work best here. Yeah, but that was a great question, Robin. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much for coming tonight and sharing this with us. We really appreciate it. I am so excited about this project and I'm looking forward to seeing it go forward. So thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Okay, so for the mayor's report tonight, I don't really have anything other than to say I've had a great first week and 1 day, and I've had such a warm welcome here at City Hall. It has just been really amazing. Our staff, I knew they were phenomenal before, but they're even more phenomenal now, and I just have had so much fun getting to know people and just standing around and chatting and seeing people interacting with each other, and it's been great. So thank you for the warm welcome from our community as well, and for all of the positive press this week. It's been so lovely about our council and just the positive outlook for the future. So really looking forward to the next 4 years. So do we have a city administrator's report this evening?
Yes, Your Honor, very quickly. I just want council to know that we are working, I shouldn't say we, it's really almost 100% Camille working on all of the recruitments for the open positions that we have. Right now, we have 25 positions that are authorized but are vacant. And just let me give you a quick idea of what we're doing and where we're at with each of them. We have 6 positions that are currently posted waiting for people to apply for the position, and that includes associate engineer, city administrator, HR analyst, HR assistant, police officer lateral, and wastewater treatment plant operator. We have interviews scheduled for our 2 open senior planners and our building inspector position that's open. We are currently setting up interviews for our utility billing clerk and our tourism assistant. We have 3 labor positions and 3 maintenance tech positions where we have applications and we have our subject matter experts. In other words, Ken and his crew going over those applications, trying to figure out who they want to interview. And we are starting the process for 8 other positions, including assistant city clerk, code enforcement officer, CSO/court security, IT systems engineer, which frankly is a position that we did do some interviewing, but we weren't super pleased with the candidates and we're going back out. Maintenance tech for our wastewater treatment plant and police sergeant, we have to go through a process for that position as well. And then very soon we will be doing the process to bring in our seasonal hires for public works. So we've got a lot of stuff going on, and I want to say thank you very much for Camille for making this a priority for the city. We cannot provide good service unless we have employees in our positions. We have a lot open, and she has made that her #1 priority. So thank you, Camille. And that's for my report, Your Honor, unless council members have questions.
Yes, Councilmember Henderson. You're on mute.
You're still on mute, Mr.
All right, still on mute. Thank you, Mayor. Tony, real quick question. Of the 25 positions open right now in the city, some are being actively recruited, some are in a list to be recruited. Does that bring us up to full staffing, or are we still short even if the 25 were to be?
If all 25 were filled, we would be 100% fully staffed.
Okay. And another quick question, what's an average turnaround time from when you start recruitment to onboarding somebody? And just in general, I know it'll vary on the level of the position.
And I'll ask Camille to answer that question.
Yeah, 3 months at tops, unless we can't find candidates right now.
Right.
And yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony. City Clerk Josh Sticker, do we have any public comment on non-agenda items?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, we have 1 submitted public comment on non-agenda items, and then I'll open it up to the public who are on Zoom. But let me read this one first. This one is going to clock in at over 3 minutes, so I'll start the timer and get as far as I can into it. This is from Thomas Wick, address Hunt Street Northwest, Carver, Washington. Good morning, Mayor Markley, and to all those copied. While I do thank you for including the disclaimer within your email communications, however, I would ask and hope that none of my email communications with you or any other city personnel, to include other elected officials, have been or will be shared with any third parties before the request for public records dated September 25th, 2020 has been completed, as it would be most improper to do so. Please confirm this is not and that this will not happen. Given the city allowed development to start and to continue with the Scansea Avenue drainage basin, despite being informed the reported, documented, and required stormwater runoff conveyance ditch on parcel 022-118-2000 did not exist, and given the imperative that I demonstrate a sustained and continued effort to mitigate damages, meaning obtaining an immediate halt to all uphill construction pending the identification of and verification of an appropriate downhill drainage to accommodate this development, I am respectfully requesting tonight's City Council meeting agenda be amended so that it includes the following proposed resolution. Pending the identification of and verification of an appropriate and adequate stormwater runoff drainage conveyance on downhill Pierce County properties to accommodate the increased stormwater runoff that has been and that has yet to be generated secondary to the continuing build out within the Scansea Avenue drainage basin. An immediate stop work order is issued for all construction within the Scansea Avenue drainage basin to include a moratorium on the issuance of certificates of occupancy, both temporary and permanent. The stop work order to include the certificate of occupancy moratorium should they be determined to be appropriate, should be effective NLT midnight, tomorrow, affording interested parties all day today and all day tomorrow to conduct a site review. If the drainage is as it was reported and as it was documented specifically, there is a stormwater runoff conveyance ditch that travels from north to south across parcel 022-118-2000, then the proposed stop work order would only be in effect for no more than 30 minutes, not hours, not days, minutes, the time necessary to confirm the drainage conditions on parcel 022-118-2000. Before entering downhill private properties for inspection, written permission from the owners must first be obtained. Additionally, Mr. Ward, the city's engineer, must sign, seal, date an official letter within which he records the presence of or the absence of reported documented stormwater runoff conveyance ditch. A copy of this signed, sealed, and dated letter must be sent via signature required certified mail to all downhill Pierce County property owners located within 1/4 mile of the courtyards at Scansey Park development. And I am on record agreeing to pay for this requested accommodation. And that is the amount of time I have to read that comment.
Okay, do we have any members from the audience on Zoom in the attendees section with their hands raised?
We do, and I'll just point out to anyone who's in attendance, if you'd like to comment, you may do so by pressing the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom window. If you're calling into the Zoom meeting by phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9 on your phone. And when using your phone to call in, you may need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Your name or the last 3 digits of your phone number will be called out when it is your turn to speak. And so if you're calling in tonight, please use *9 on your phone to raise your hand. And our first person to speak is Jim Franich. Mr. Franich, you're free to speak. I see that you're unmuted, but we're not hearing you. Looks like we're having some technical difficulties here with Mr. Franich. He's connected. His microphone is turned off, but we're not getting any audio from him.
If he can hear us, maybe he could log out and log back in potentially, or call in phone.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you're able to log out and log back in again, we might be able to get you that way, or you may need to call in on the phone number to be heard.
Looks like he's elected to log back in.
Yep.
Are there any other hands raised while we're waiting to see if he can log back on?
That's the only comment that we have for the evening.
Okay. So remind me again, if I close the public comment, can I reopen it if he were to join back on?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So for the sake of moving on, why don't I close the public comment for now on non-agenda items? We do not have any old business tonight, so I will move to new business. Item number 1, first reading of Ordinance 1481, amending the 2022 budget. And I believe this report is from our Human Resources Director, Camille Borders.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and members of the public. Tonight, I'm presenting you with Ordinance 1481 relating to the city's 2022 budget and amending the personnel salary schedule. As you all are very aware, inflation was much higher than anticipated when the city adopted the collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters in December 2020. The request this evening tonight is equivalent to the request asked for the Teamsters 117 General Union, which is an additional 1% increase to the non-represented employees' salary schedule. Historically, the non-represented employees have received the same wage adjustment as both the general and supervisory employees. It has been constructed this way to maintain a competitive wage structure for all positions. We're requesting and recommending that you approve this ordinance, adding an additional 1% to the non-represented employees' pay schedule for 2022, which is in alignment with the employee and supervisory unions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there clarifying questions from council? Okay, I don't see any. I will open up the public comment. Were there any written public comments sent in, Josh?
There are no written comments, and I will remind the folks at home, if you would like to comment, you may do so by pressing the raise hand button on the bottom of your Zoom window. If you're calling into the Zoom meeting by phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9 on your phone. And I do not see any raised hands for comment on this item.
Okay. Council deliberation and action. Yes, Councilmember Luke.
Yes, thank you. I move to approve ordinance number 1481
On first reading, correct?
on first reading. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion by Councilmember Luke, seconded by Councilmember Denson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0. And now we are on new business item 2, resolution 1229, amending resolution 1224, approving the 2022 lodging tax expenditures. And this is from our Tourism and Communications Director, Laura Pettit.
Good evening. As you know, we had our last October 12th and 18th meetings to review applications for use of the 2022 lodging tax funds. The LTAC provided their recommendations to council for the November 22 city council meeting. We took the recommendations of council to reevaluate the grant recommendations for 2 applicants, the APPC and Lavender Farm. And on December 9th, LTAC voted to accept this recommendation, removing funding from the Lavender Farm and reallocating that amount, $5,000, to the Asia Pacific Cultural Center for the Korean Festival. Attached to that resolution, you have the current amount of grants, which is a total of 125,000, which leaves us, I think, at a total recommended expenditure of $615,000. And with 22 revenues, we end that fund balance at the end of 2022 at $700,527.
Okay, great.
And this also includes taking the Celtic Music Festival and rather having Dunnigan Brewing be the recipient, it's the Chamber of Commerce.
Correct.
Are there clarifying questions from council? Okay, seeing none, I will open up
Actually,
the
I
public.
had,
Oh, yes,
sorry,
Councilman.
I was trying to get my mouse here. Can you tell me where the projected revenues came for 2022? Is that from our budget document, or maybe Dave Rotenbach could answer that?
So I think I can, Dave, maybe you can pop in there. That's an estimated based on our 2021 revenue and then projecting for future growth.
In general, the revenues are approximately $300,000 to $400,000 a year.
Okay.
Excuse me. And I don't have that quite in front of me, but I think what I estimated for the official 2022 budget was $300,000 a year. And we're going to end up with a very healthy fund balance.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Sure.
Any other questions from council? Okay, we will open up the public comment. Josh, were there any written public comments submitted?
We have no written public comments for this item. I will remind people watching at home, if they want to comment on this, they can do so by pressing the raise hand button at the bottom of their Zoom window, or if they're calling in to the Zoom meeting by phone, you can press *9, which will give you access to the meeting. And I don't see any raised hands to comment on this item.
Okay. Council deliberation and action. I don't see any hands raised. Do I have a motion to move to approve? Oh, there's hands all of a sudden. Okay, hold on. Just a second. Councilmember Rodenberg.
Make a motion that we approve resolution 1229, amendment to the 2022 lodging tax expenditures.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Councilmember Henderson, okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0. All right. Well, that was fast. We are on to council reports and comments. Any council members wish to speak and have a comment tonight? Yes, Councilmember Denson.
First of all, I would just like to say, I think that's the fastest meeting we've ever had by like a lot. Good job, Mayor Markley.
Well, it's not just me, but thank you.
Excellent. I had notes here somewhere. I just wanted to say thank you. During the last weather emergency we had with all the snow, thank you to Chief Busey for helping get some folks off the street and coming up with a good plan and dealing with lots of calls and emails from all over the region, not just our city. And then big thanks to our Public Works team for clearing those roads. They did a great job. You know, really people were able to get out and about, and I was really thankful for that. I wanted to suggest, and I've talked to Mr. Langhelm and Ms. Pettit about this, but I would love to see a little bit more communication to the public from our Public Works team. Pierce County does that, and it's kind of cool. Every night they post on Facebook where they're going to be the next day, what's going on, what you can expect and what you cannot expect. So, you know, they're not getting bothered with why aren't you down my street? You know, they kind of explain, and it gives people a sense of the challenge that they are facing and that they're doing their best. And I think it helps people have a greater appreciation for what they're doing. So that would be nice. And then I also spoke with Mr. Langhelm about how we need to communicate, I think, a little bit better to our private residents and business owners about their responsibilities in terms of clearing their sidewalks and how it's a good idea to get right out there before it turns to ice, things like that for our walkers in our community as well. But all in all, a great job to all of our staff, especially during the holidays. It was a tough time. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Councilmember Luke.
Yes, thank you. I believe I'm supposed to be making a Public Works report from the committee. At our December 14th meeting, we discussed two issues. Number one was the Canterwood Boulevard intertie, which would supply water to the hospital in the event of an emergency at the hospital. We checked with both the Washington Water and Peninsula Light Water, and they said they did not have water available to help with an emergency at the hospital. After discussion, it was agreed that the most efficient way to get the hospital water would be through proposed well number 9. So the second issue that we talked about at the Public Works meeting was well number 9. Well number 9 is proposed to be in Gig Harbor North by the water tower. And it is a redundant water supply. So it means that it will not be used, I don't believe, on a regular basis, but it's redundant. And this well, we believe, could be used, and the water from this well could be used in an emergency at the hospital should there be an emergency there. So that's the two issues that we discussed. We also looked at the CIP report, the Capital Improvement Project report. We look at this every month, and I sent all the council members a copy of this report and what it looks like. It's really useful for your information. It's also a really good way to be transparent in case any of our citizens want to know, hey, what's up with this project? You can look on the CIP report and let them know. So since we've gone to committees of the whole, I would certainly like to see a monthly CIP report presented at one of these committees as well. It's just really a great wealth of knowledge for our council members as well. I don't know if Jeff wants to add anything to my report from Public Works Committee.
No, I don't have anything else to add. That was great.
And we are planning to do a monthly CIP report at one of our study sessions.
Great, thank you so much. So I have a boards and commissions report. Do you want me to go into that, Mayor Markley?
Yes, and my apologies to the council. I skipped over council reports. So yes, and then we will go to Councilmember Rodenberg after that.
All right. So the Board and Commission Candidate Review Committee met on December the 13th, and we interviewed applicants for 2 vacancies on the Parks Commission. So the unanimous recommendation was to appoint Stephanie Lyle and Georgina Armstrong to the Parks Commission. By your consent agenda vote previously tonight, you did appoint these 2 members to the Parks Commission, and they will take their seat at the next meeting. We have some wonderful folks who want to be on our commissions. And so hopefully if you were not selected this time, please apply again, because you are needed, and it's important that we have our citizens involved. And those are my reports, committee reports this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have our Finance and Safety Committee meeting of December 20th, report by Councilmember Rodenberg.
December 20th, we had a Finance and Safety Committee meeting. All committee members were present. The biggest topic and our main concern that Chief Busey commented on was theft deterrence and for shoplifting in our businesses. As you all heard and you've seen on the news, and Chief Busey has talked to us about it, is basically with COVID and arrests not being able to be made, with some of the new moves by the legislature, kind of tying the hands of police departments throughout the state. It's become a big problem. So the chief had talked to us a lot about different ways that we may be able to curb that, but none of them really would fit in with some of the loss prevention standards that the large retailers have. Some of them aren't exactly cooperative. They actually ask their employees not to call the police. So because the more reports they have, their insurance goes up, and they don't want their employees getting involved. So it's been a problem. So the chief and I talked about it for weeks ahead of time, and just couldn't come up with anything. However, the chief did come up with something that it probably wouldn't be good to go into it in detail right now, since this is recorded, and we don't want the thieves to find out what's going on. The chief is on this call, so he could maybe comment, but we did come up with a way that the police department can be made aware of shoplifting when it's occurring magically, without the police department being called directly. So there is some things that are going to be done. Maybe Chief would like to comment on that and go into more detail if you think it's prudent, Chief.
Well, I just thank you, Councilmember Rodenberg. We're always interested in working with our businesses, coming up with creative ways to identify and deter shoplifts. I think that maybe it's best said that we've worked out a way to have the businesses notify us of potential activity, and then we just make a big presence in that area. It's helped a little bit anecdotally. We'll never be able to record those as wins in the stat column because there's no arrest or contact, but we've certainly had instances of successfully deterring theft. Theft and robbery continue to escalate though, so we're really watching this upcoming legislative session closely. Thank you.
There are bills in the legislative session coming up this week, in fact tomorrow, having to better clarify some of those legislative actions that were made, they were confusing in use of force, the way people are arrested, pursuits, and those kinds of things. So this week will be very telling. That completes my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Rodenberg, and thank you, Chief, for your comments. Any other council comments? Yes, Councilmember Rook.
Yes, thank you. So part of the fire marshal policy was supposed to come back to the Finance and Safety Committee meeting in March of this year. But since we're not having those meetings, I think it's important that this policy, this proposed discussion happens in March or before, so that if we need to vote on this, that vote can take place before July 4th. So that this area of discussion here was to allow our fire marshal here in the city limits to be able to have a cease on fireworks on July 4th if there are atmospheric pressures, and if there's dryness available, and if it's dangerous to have fireworks, then our fire marshal would be able, if we vote for this, would be able to say, no, we won't have them. Pierce County passed a similar ordinance to allow the Pierce County Fire Marshal to also take a look at the environment and make sure it was dry for unincorporated areas in Pierce County. But this is a discussion that we wanted to have for our city of Gig Harbor, and to include our fire marshal in the city. I see Director Knudsen's hand up, and perhaps she'd like to comment on this. I have another comment after this, but Director Knudsen.
Thank you, Councilmember Wook. Yes, we plan to bring that forward to the council work sessions between now and March. So it's definitely on our radar. Building official Fire Marshal Paul Rice is on that. I also wanted to let the council know that House Bill 1638 has been introduced to the legislature, and that is potentially going to do something similar to what some of the council members would like to do for City of Gig Harbor, and would allow for fireworks to be banned within 90 days after adoption of that bill due to wildfire risk. So that is a bill that we'll be watching as well.
Thanks very much. I do have another comment. I attended the sports complex meeting last Thursday, and I'd like to make a little report about that. Attending the meeting was Mayor Markley and City Administrator Piasecki, Senator Randall, Public Works Director Langham, Parks Manager Kehoe, the Parks Commission Chair, Council Members Henderson, Storsett, and Wook, folks from the Y, folks from football, Little League, and soccer. And some information that I took away from that. The Y is committed to raising $6.8 million prior to construction of phase 1A. They are about at 30% design is completed. Construction is planned at this point for 2023. If there are Gig Harbor kids involved in Peninsula School District sports, currently these kids in Peninsula School District do have fields to practice on and play on. It is the teams not connected to Peninsula School District that are searching for fields. I thought it was really interesting. Attending one of the groups was from Harbor Soccer, which is a nonprofit group. And I was very surprised to learn that their team athletes come from 17 different high schools around the area. Tacoma high schools, Kitsap high schools, and of course the 2 Gig Harbor high schools. So looks like the majority of these kids on this field with this group will not be from Gig Harbor. The soccer group says they pay between $150,000 and $200,000 a year for field rentals. And I don't know how many schools or how many different areas the football teams and the Little League teams encompass as well, but it will be interesting to watch for their meaningful donation to the capital campaign contribution. since the Y is active in all these different areas, what a perfect partnership this is for this sports complex in Gig Harbor North. That was my takeaway, and I see the other council members' hands up, so I look forward to hearing their takeaway as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. I kind of want to talk a little bit about the upcoming project at Harborview and Stinson, the roundabout, and I believe the sewer line repair there. Does the city currently, are they planning any sort of a campaign to get the message out? Because I think that's going to be a pretty darn big project. It's going to take a long time, and probably even longer than our repair of the sewer line that was there. And kind of echoing off Robin's comment about communication to the public, I think we need this. The sooner we can get ahead of this, the better. I know that at least on the capital improvements projects schedule, looks like we're starting in March. Is that correct, Jeff?
Yes, we're going to, depending on weather, we're going to be
Right.
looking to get the contractor back in March. I can tell you that our typical public outreach campaign for a project like this is to blast with Laura's support social media messages ahead of time, put information on the city's website with folks being able to get updates from that when we do our weekly project update for that webpage. Traffic signs that are in and around all the roads leading into the project ahead of time, and then working with those messages to get out, whether it's press releases or just communicating with folks who can help get the word out. One thing that we do is we also provide information, have conversations with the Gig Harbor Downtown Waterfront Alliance at their roundtable and let them know what's going on in the Chamber of Commerce. If you have any other suggestions of other ways to get the word out, feel
Well,
free to let
Jeff,
us know.
in addition, we have our staff go out and talk with the property owners and the homeowners right in the immediate vicinity of the project as well. So they know well in advance what we're going to be doing.
Yes, we do walk the project, and all of the property owners that are either going to be affected or the next house up, we definitely are talking to them constantly to let them know what's going on.
Yeah, it's clearly critical to speak to the local folks that are around the project, but I think a project like this, just what we saw from last year, what happened, now I understand there was a pretty major pileup on SR 16, but even after that accident had cleared, there was still a huge delay down there. So I think both, all areas, whether it's downtown, uptown, or Gig Harbor North, because a lot of us in Gig Harbor North go down through that area. I think it's going to be a very broad campaign. I would be good to do.
And I can certainly work with staff to see if we can expand our information campaign a little bit more than we've done in the past. I thought we did pretty well with it last time, but you're right. There are so many people that are affected by this that we need to get the word out.
Yeah, and pretty much, you know, if you read Facebook posts for communities, you see people not even knowing about it until they're in the traffic, and then it's
right.
Yes, Laura, did you have an idea or a suggestion?
I definitely do. So one of the things we've looked at, especially with the last projects, or what are our key learnings from that? It consists of, you know, active conversation monitoring in those Facebook groups and on Nextdoor. In addition to physical signage is one of the key learnings that we took away from our last big project. And that 16 backup is one of those. You can have every email that goes out in the world, but sometimes people just forget about it until they're driving by a physical sign. And so, you know, Jeff and I have worked on a few ideas to really see where the commentary was coming from the public and where we can improve. So we've got a decent plan in place and very, very open to other ideas. We continue to use our community leaders list in order to get out information too when things like these happen, so that there is talk and chatter and no misinformation as well. That's an important part of this. So yes, I think we're ready.
yeah. Okay, hopefully we'll see some signs posted farther up like Peacock and Crescent Valley, so that because you know our road network is set up that once you get on a road and you start heading down there, it's real hard to go back until you've hit it. So good. It sounds like we have stuff under control.
Good.
Thank you. Councilmember Storsett.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to add additional comments to Jenny's with the sports complex. Likewise, I thought it was a great meeting, very informative hearing from our different different sports clubs that we have in the harbor. And I just thought it was very impressive. It's much needed as they talked quite a bit about, this younger demographic that we have and, the need for fields. One of them that was, not a shock to me because I coach soccer as well, but, how many teams are getting forced onto the few fields that we have. One of the other comments I thought that was really interesting too is even with the new schools that we're building, that's really not something that the school districts are focusing on is, baseball fields and soccer fields and things like that. They're focused on education. And take Swiftwater, for example, it's a much smaller footprint than what it's been in the past. So definitely see the need for this with our clubs. And we've got that, younger generation that's going to continue to grow up and need these fields. And while it is definitely, Jenny, I agree on the high school teams, and I was shocked at hearing how far some people travel to come and play on our teams, which is pretty amazing. So we must be pretty good if we can recruit like that. But again, it's also really good for our rec teams, to be able to, even if it frees up more space at our schools or parks, and the older kids get the pretty fields, that's still an improvement. So I thought it was great. I look forward to seeing the progress that the city and the YMCA makes on this. It's very good. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Likens.
Hi, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to tag on to the comments that both Roger and Laura made. I'm wondering if you publicize through the school districts and the schools to the families as well as homeowners associations, because we get broadcast emails from our homeowners associations, and I know that would be a great way to communicate if you don't already have those.
We let the school district's transportation department know ahead of time of these. They're included. We also let fire, EMS, postal, garbage collection, we let all those groups know. Right. We let the school district transportation group know. We don't have a secondary email that we send to school district leadership. But as far as HOAs go, one great thing that we have on our website is anybody can go to the project page and sign up for alerts. And if you sign up for alerts, and you can then get your email address on that, and you'll get notified each time we have updates.
Great. Maybe we as council members can reach out to some of those groups and encourage them to sign up. So
that'd be great.
Yeah.
We also, as part of our community leaders list, have the director of communications for the Peninsula School District there, so they can disseminate that information to the schools that will be affected.
Great, thank you.
Great.
Your Honor, I have a couple of other things if council members are done with their comments.
Yes, I don't see any hands. Go ahead.
So I had sent an email late this afternoon regarding a few bills that are going to be having hearings here fairly shortly. The email also included comments from our lobbyists regarding the two bills, I think that were mentioned by Councilmember Rodenberg, that are having hearings tomorrow. I just wanted you to know that the chief has written a letter for him and the mayor to sign that will be delivered to the chair of that committee that expresses some of the concerns that we have with the bills that are being heard tomorrow. I see Councilmember Rodenberg has his hand up.
Yes, Councilmember Rodenberg.
Yes, this didn't have to do with that. It's something else, Tony. So go ahead and leave your comments.
And then the email also included information from Katrina Knudsen regarding 4 bills, one of which she's already mentioned, the fireworks 90-day ban when it's high fire danger, but 3 others having to do with ADUs and other issues having to do with ADUs. So I'd like her to just take a moment and touch base with you on that and let you know what our thoughts are on what our position should be, and if we want our lobbyists to actually sign in either in support or against any of these bills.
Thank you, Tony. Evening, Council. I'll try to make this very brief. Noting that the legislative agenda was passed last year, we did hear from Council that the city in our lobbying efforts would like to retain local control. And so with that in mind, I'll go through just really quickly some of these bills. House Bill 1660 is a bill that would require us to amend our comprehensive plan and development regulations. It states that cities cannot require off-street parking for accessory dwelling units if the unit is within a quarter mile of transit. The more problematic portion of the bill, however, in here stipulates that cities and other jurisdictions cannot remove the owner occupied provision from accessory dwelling unit regulations. Currently, our regulations state that the owner of the property needs to live in either the primary structure or the ADU. This bill is seeking to remove that so that both units or multiple units could be rented out with no owner on site. Staff would recommend opposition of that bill. House Bill 1711. This bill is more of an incentives-based approach. It is allowing jurisdictions to utilize incentives and reduction in impact fees or other development-related fees for incentive to build accessory dwelling units, except for in the case of an accessory dwelling unit being used as a short-term rental. So as this is an incentive approach and gives the city more avenues to look at affordable housing, we would recommend either a support or a neutral stance on that bill.
And that bill doesn't require us to adopt those incentives. It just gives us the option of doing so.
That's correct. So for instance, if the city decided they wanted to cut impact fees in half for transportation or what have you for accessory dwelling units, we would have the ability to do that without being against any other law. House Bill 1337 is, this one sets up a fund for the state to manage of $1 million a year. And essentially what the state or what this bill wants to do is if jurisdictions allow for construction of accessory dwelling units, then the city or the jurisdiction could request reimbursement from the state through this fund for any sales tax or any other monetary item generated from the construction of those accessory dwelling units. They anticipate this would be about $10,000 per accessory dwelling unit. And then once the max of $1 million is hit, then reimbursements would stop for the year. This is not something that is required for the city to participate in. It's just another tool in the toolbox, and therefore staff recommends a neutral position on that. There is another large bill that the governor is expected to enter in to that is a broad sweeping extensive housing policy preemption bill. We are working with Carl Schroeder of AWC on this bill, and as soon as we have a full summary of that, we will put that out for council. But essentially, for the bill breaks down jurisdictions or cities, 20,000 people or above, or between 10,000 and 20,000 in population. And this bill, if passed, would require at minimum to what we know now, jurisdictions such as Carver to allow for duplexes on each current single family lot. So again, this is a pretty broad sweeping preemption bill that is really a top-down approach versus a bottom-up approach, and would require some significant modifications to our zoning code if passed. It looks like AWC and other local jurisdictions are already partnering together to oppose this. And so prior to giving a recommendation to council, we want to be able to evaluate what the bill says and provide a summary to receive feedback from the council. And Tony, that concludes the summary unless there are questions.
I see a couple hands raised. Councilmember Rodenberg, would you wish to comment yet, or do you want? You're on mute.
It's still not about that issue. It's a new issue.
Okay.
I think
Councilmember Woot.
Thank you. I'll be happy to comment. I was looking at the email that came in through our lobbyists, and it is exactly about what the one that Director Knudsen was talking about, and the one from our lobbyists refers to House Bill 1782 and Senate Bill 5670, which absolutely eliminates single-family zoning in Gig Harbor. And I hope we will join with AWC and we will do everything to fight this. We have met our target goals for 2030. So I'm totally against the state coming in and trying to eliminate single-family dwellings, single-family zoning in Gig Harbor. I think once our citizens understand what would happen in a neighbor if the neighbor house sells and they tear it down, and what could be in their next door neighbor when they thought they were buying a house in a single-family residential neighborhood, then I think our citizens would probably be pretty upset. I can't imagine anyone in Gig Harbor that would be in favor of eliminating R1 single family zoning, residential zoning. So let's fight this good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wook. Now, Councilmember Rodenberg.
Now, all right. Well, I just wanted to make sure that we got back to Mr. Franich and his non-agenda item. I'm not sure whether he got back to us or if we left him hanging or.
I haven't seen him log back on. Have you seen him, Josh Sticker? Have you seen him log back on?
I have not seen him try to get back on yet. No, it doesn't look like he was able to get back on.
Hopefully, maybe he can email his comments to us.
I was going to say, I can call Mr. Franich and ask him if he would like to email his comments to council. We can do that and we can read them at the next meeting.
Yeah, just tell.
Oh, you went on mute.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give him a call tomorrow.
Thank you for doing that, Tony. Okay, if there are no other comments, we'll have announcement of upcoming meetings. We have our city council study session. Actually, we canceled our study session on the 13th at 2 p.m., correct? City
That is correct. We're just not ready yet to start that process, but we will at the one on the 27th.
Yes, expect that one to have items on it. Our city offices will be closed on Monday, January 17th for Martin Luther King holiday. And we have our next, we have a city council special meeting on Tuesday, January 18th at 1 p.m. And if there are no other comments.
Apologies, Mayor, but we did add another city council special meeting tomorrow at noon to meet with representatives.
That's right.
Oh, I did not see that on my agenda copy, but yes.
Apologies for not getting that on there.
Sure. So noon tomorrow, special meeting with Representative Caldier, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I hope you're all able to attend that. And
at least 4 of you, so we have a quorum.
Yes, yes. Do we need to maybe see if was that on the updated copy of the agenda? Did you all see that meeting at noon tomorrow, council members?
And if you would raise your hands and say you're going to be there, I see 1,
yeah,
2,
that would be
3,
helpful. Oh,
4,
perfect.
5,
Great.
6. All right, great. We're 6 for 6.
Great. I know Representative Caldier is really looking forward to meeting with us. So thank you so much. Okay, with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second? I'm sorry, was that Councilor Rodenberg?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Yay.
Congratulations, hour and 10 minutes. I don't know that we have ever had that fast of a council meeting. Good job, you guys.
Welcome.
Let's keep it up.